You know that person, right? The one who's incredibly smart, just brilliant, but, well, seems kind of lazy. The person staring out the window when they're supposed to be working. Today we're going to dive into why that might be a huge misunderstanding. We're exploring the hidden world of what's called intellectual inertia. And boom, right there, that is the core of this whole idea. So when we see that brilliant friend just spacing out, they're probably not slacking off at all. They might actually be doing their most important work, just on a level we can't see. It's a completely different kind of productivity, one that happens entirely inside the mind. And this table really gets to the heart of it. What we see on the surface, inactivity, maybe what looks like zero ambition, is one thing. But what's actually happening underneath, well, that's a whole different story. We're talking about a mind that's buzzing, solving complex problems, and thinking deeply. This huge gap between appearance and reality, that's exactly what we're going to unpack.
Okay, so first things first. Let's tackle this misconception head-on. Why are we so quick to look at someone sitting still and just assume they're being lazy?
I mean, this is basically baked into our culture, isn't it? We're taught that success means you're always busy, always moving, like you're on a hamster wheel. If you're not physically doing something that other people can see, then you're not achieving anything. It's a really simple equation, but as we're about to find out, it's often completely wrong.
But here's where it gets interesting. What if that gut assumption we all have is just not the full story? What if the science of how our minds actually work gives us a much richer and frankly way more fascinating explanation for what we think of as laziness?
So let's get into the why of it all. The science here is pretty cool. It really comes down to how a certain kind of brain reacts to the world, and more specifically, to the kind of tasks it's given.
Okay, so this is the absolute key. We're not talking about a lack of motivation. We're talking about a profound lack of stimulation. For a mind that's just wired to crave complex problems, a simple or repetitive task isn't just boring, it can feel almost physically draining. The brain basically takes one look at the task and says, nope, this is not worth my energy.
And this brings us to the chemistry behind it all. Dopamine. You can think of dopamine as the brain's own little reward system. It's that aha feeling of satisfaction you get when you finally crack a tough problem. It's what pushes us to take on challenges. But for a highly intelligent mind, that challenge has to be big enough to actually trigger the reward.
And this breaks down the feedback loop that happens perfectly. Let's just walk through it. First, the brain gets a simple task. It immediately predicts there's not much of a challenge, which means not much of a dopamine reward. It thinks, why bother? So to save up its mental energy for bigger, more interesting problems, it just checks out. It disengages. And that is what we see on the outside and call laziness.
So, this leads us to probably the coolest concept in this whole explainer: cognitive depth. If the brain isn't just being lazy, then what on earth is it actually doing when it looks like it's switched off?
Exactly. That's the million-dollar question, right? If it's not just idle, something else must be going on under the surface. What is all that hidden work about?
And here it is, cognitive depth. This is when the mind is going a mile a minute, even when the body is perfectly still. It's running simulations, connecting ideas from things you read weeks ago, analyzing old conversations to find new meaning. It's the kind of deep internal work that gave us Newton's apple moment. It's powerful, it's focused, and it is completely invisible to the outside world.
All right, so now that we have this idea of cognitive depth, how does that change things? How do we start to rethink what productivity and intelligence actually look like in our day-to-day lives?
This right here gives us a whole new way of looking at the world. First off, we've got to remember that a still body does not equal a still mind. Second, we have to get that for some people, the need for a complex problem is what actually drives them. So those times of doing nothing could actually be deep work sessions in disguise. And finally, and this is so important, we can start to tell the difference between someone who truly doesn't care and someone who's just not being challenged enough.
And really, that's what I want to leave you with. This isn't just some abstract theory. It's a practical new way to see the people around you. So, the next time you see someone just staring off into space, what are you going to see? Laziness? Or are you going to see the quiet, incredible, hidden work of a mind deep in thought?